Hey, Dennis here. Welcome to Wednesday We Learn. This is, yesterday was the Tuesday drive. You should check that out if you haven't seen it yet. It was actually this book of Art and Fear was pretty interesting, and it really made me think about a lot of different things. But and here's an interesting, discovery was. I guess I didn't really think about, do you have the fear if you're not thinking about you have the fear? But if it's still a barrier for you, then it probably is a fear, and certainly it has some profound effect on you. So I don't know if any of that makes sense to you, but if you check out this video right here, it'll make sense to you. It was a big discovery for me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping to grow from reading that book and the dialogue that we've been having in some of the comments on those Tuesday drive videos. So anyway, but this is Wednesday, and we learn on Wednesday, and this is where I'm basically working. We've been working through a progression with this series on painting things in the landscape to make it easier for you if you're a beginner. When you go out and paint, if you practice these things when you're at home, it'll actually make your journey out there a whole lot easier. And so this doesn't only apply to you, this applies to me as well. And that's one of my favorite things about this whole series is teaching is learning. So I'm getting to solidify some things for myself. So anyway, I'll get the camera switched around and set up, and we'll get this one going. All right. So what I've done is this is the same tree we were working on last week. All I did was go in and I changed the background from kind of that orange color to some cerulean blue, maybe a touch of ultramarine blue in there with it. Just wanted to change that up a little bit. So the thing that I want to show you tonight is this would be like the beginning stages of the tree, and then it just comes to refinement and things like that, and paying close attention to where the light and shadow is, and maybe a few secondary branches. Obviously these, because of the size of these branches, they're definitely the primaries. And one of the things that I don't do as often as I should, and this is it's pretty rough sometimes when you're painting and not thinking, and but one of the things that I've noticed is that I have a tendency to always paint my primary branches as if they're all going out toward the side of the tree. So, and what you don't want to do is you don't want to have a tree here that ends up looking like this, where everything is going out like that. And unfortunately, sometimes that's what I gravitate towards. So wow, that was pretty terrible. Anyway, you get the idea, is you don't want to do this. So occasionally, there has to be a branch that comes off of the front of the tree and around, or it could come off of the front of the tree, and then it just goes up. So I don't know if you can see my little sketch there, but I'm going to try and illustrate that for you, and it's something that I'm thinking about. I'm going to try and focus on, and I think it will help to improve my trees, especially in terms of thinking about them as they're round, and we have to do everything we can to tell that story to the viewer, that they're looking at a round object. Midtones, highlights, shadows are good indicators of that, but this helps as well. So what I'm gonna try and do here is I'm gonna just well, I'll just show you. Excuse me. I've been fighting a little bit of a cold, but I'm working through it. So I want to change the value of this tree anyway, just a little bit in the shadow area. I wanted to bring it back, not quite as dark as I had it there, and I think this may work. So I just mixed up a gray using some ultramarine and cat orange, which is a color that, I mean, these two are staples for me, and I use these two colors a lot. So so I'm just going to come in here and see if I can bring this up a little, maybe just a touch of white. I might have gone a little crazy there. I'm pretty sure I did. So I'll just come back in with a little blue. And we'll just change that up slightly. I think I'll cut that one out, just kind of coming off the side there. And I have a reason for why I did this, and I'll show you in 1 second here. All right. I was going to take another one of those branches and bring it in here off to the kind of off the front of the tree, and I'll start with kind of a dark gray, since again, like we said before, we're going to be looking at the underside of this branch for the most part, and I'm going to kind of start it like right here, and it's just going to come up, and then it's just going to just roll a little bit to the side, and it would be up like that. And so since we're looking underneath that branch, and remember our light's over here, it's going to be pretty dark, but we have to we need to change the value of that, where we need to create a counter change. And what that means is dark against light, or light against dark. And trees as an example, well, actually I think I'll cover this later, but and now you can see why that might be necessary, because these values are actually a little too close together. And so I think we'll maybe get the underside of that. I'm kind of indecisive tonight. I'm not quite sure exactly which direction I want to go, so I think I'm going to actually have some light catch this side of it as it crosses, like that. So, and then right in there, it'll be quite dark, right in this area. And we'll come back to that in a second. Okay. Now, just as we created light and shadow in this part of the tree going this direction, we can actually come in and take some of that reflected light that we talked about last time over in here. And I'm going to lighten that up a little bit, just a touch. I can just bring some of that over in here, maybe. And then we'll do just the opposite. We'll come to the other side with some highlight over in here, and just kind of drag this down. The light's coming across the tree there. And then I'm just going to come in there with some blue over in here, All right, so the next thing that we're gonna do is when you cast a shadow from a branch across the tree, you want to make sure that your shadows are following the form. And what I mean by that is, let's just take a nice shadow color, which is kind of this blue-green. We'll gray it out first and get kind of a bluish green color here. This, because of how strong the light's coming from over here, it's going to cast a shadow. And what you don't want to do is, you don't want to just say this shadow is just going to come straight across like this, because that doesn't really tell what's happening with the tree. And what I mean by the shadow needs to follow the form of the thing that it's laying across. So we know the tree is round, so we want to make sure that our shadow, when we lay it in, that it's actually following that curve of the tree, because it's going to help us. It's going to help us to tell that story. So I'll just kind of take that one out, and we'll get something a little bit darker. And that shadow, maybe we'll just need a little bit of red in that one. So it's going to want to come from, it's going to want to go this way. And actually it might even come down more than that. So let me go back to where I was. Let me come in here with that again. Blue. I'll get a nice dark color here that we can deal with. There we go. Maybe even a little more. Alright, so come all the way from here under that branch. It's going to fall in around this tree. So and the edges of that shadow are going to feather out a little bit as it gets away from. It's going to be really dark up next to the object, and then as it gets further away, it's going to kind of feather out a little bit. So that's good for that. And then the next thing we'll do, this will be the last part for tonight, is let's take a rigger brush, and this is just a number 2 rigger that's kind of worn out, but it's not a very good one. But it'll do for now. So when I'm pulling secondary branches, I'm going to mix up some a nice dark color again, a blue and ultramarine blue and cad orange. I'll get a nice dark gray here, and I kind of start with the darkest color for the secondary branches. To think about how those grow, when they come off of here, yeah, every branch of the tree is making an attempt to get out into the open where it can get into the light, because that's from its early age. That's why on these older trees you see the branches on the lower portion go out way out here sometimes, because they're trying to get out from underneath the canopy so they can get more light. And so these branches tend to come out horizontally and slightly work their way toward curving up. So they'll want to come out and then sort of work their way up. Occasionally you'll see a broken branch or something that'll hang down, but for the most part they're all trying to work their way up toward the light. So and I just lay my rigger in here, and I'll just come off of. And this is one thing that I've noticed about trees, is when you have a change in direction that typically indicates a place where a branch either has at some point grown from or where it currently grows from. So this change of direction right here is like a really good spot. So, but I roll my brush as I do these secondary branches, and it gives that kind of random shape, and I'm just lightly letting my the net roll. And if you do it too much, you end up with a ribbon look, and you don't want that, and that's sort of what I have here, almost 3 equal segments. So so I'll just have it like a little change of direction, and then it just tapers off. And so when you add some of those branches in there, I just start, like I said, with this dark color, and you just come off and just kind of roll. Hope you can see that. Just kind of roll the brush a little bit so you get different edges, and then just let it taper off. And then you have the same thing happens again. This change of direction is typically where a branch would come off, and it's going to attempt to work its way back up toward the light. So it would go up like that, and then we'd have the same thing here. This branch might come off. So this just gives you some feel for how those secondary branches work out. And this actually needs to be a bigger portion for that. So let's lay that in there. And you might have something similar happen over here as well. This branch may come up this way off the top of this one, and work its way up like that. And I'm just rolling that edge and letting that just fan out. And then this will be the same. And then this branch over here actually would, that primary branch would continue. But I just wanted you to get the feel for this, and get kind of the idea of how these secondary branches work. And so then once you have those in place, you treat them the same way that you do the tree. You know where your light source is. So you'll have some areas of that where, for the most part, we're looking underneath this one, but it may have a spot where it's going to pick up a little bit of light right around that edge, and you may have something similar over here. It might pick up some light on the top section there, maybe right on that curve right here where it's going around this way. It might pick up some light. And so you just play with these in the same way. If you're looking up underneath them, for the most part, they're going to you're going to see maybe the back side of that just catches a little light right there. All right, so I hope that helps. And the important things to remember, even though I made a little bit of a mess here, is that the shadows that are cast by the branches are going to follow the form of the tree. They're going to go around the tree, and this one is kind of going, mine might be going down and around too much, but in general, that's what I was trying to accomplish there. And your secondary branches are going to come out and make an attempt to reach the light, and then you treat them the same as your primary branches as far as where the light's hitting them, and how you make those adjustments. And actually, on the top of that could have been quite a bit lighter, but I'm just messing around now, so I'm gonna stop that for now, because I'm just kind of messing this up. All right. All right. So that's it for that. All right, so thanks for hanging out with me tonight and checking this out. Hopefully you caught the principles better than maybe I may have demonstrated it. I will practice this, and the next time, next Wednesday, I will actually show you that I've improved. So, but in general, you know, I hope you found this useful, and as always, I'll catch you later.